Just east of the Golden Gate Bridge, in the center of San Francisco Bay, stands an escape-proof island, the toughest penitentiary in the United States, known as the Rock. A fishing boat hovered close by, a mile off the Rock, where 350 of the most desperate criminals in the nation were held under maximum security guard.
Okay, take it easy for a few minutes.
Gotta get my breath. I'll be okay. The thing is, I hurt my shoulder.
You got a bearing?
Yep.
Okay, Frank, shove off. We gotta find Mike Nelson.
I was testing new underwater signal flares for the manufacturer. They checked out fine. I was attaching them to self-inflating marker buoys and letting them rise to the surface. Suddenly, an anchor came crashing down from topside, missed me by inches. The man on the anchor line grinned at me playfully. It wasn't funny. Underwater is no place for practical jokes. If I could have talked, I'd have chewed him out right there.
You out of your mind? Dropping your anchor over a diver's flag and riding the anchor. Now that's real smart. Take it easy, man. Take it easy. Relax. We came a long way to see you.
Yeah, all the way from San Francisco.
Yeah? What for? To bury me at sea?
That's the last thing we want to do, Mike. We need your help.
Come on aboard. Let's talk it over.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. I really am. I didn't mean to pull that schoolboy trick down below.
Just what is it that you fellas have in mind?
Well, it's like this, Mike. Oh, wait a minute. My name's Brand, Larry Brand. And these are my brothers, Johnny and Frank.
Hi. How are you?
We're abalone fishermen, Mike. Divers, just like you. Only we don't use one of those boilers on our back like you do. We have to drag an air hose wherever we go.
Makes it kind of rough, Mike. It was okay a few years ago, but competition's getting pretty rugged. We can't find the remote abalone beds with a hose. We've got to be able to swim in free. In other words, we've got to learn to use a lung or we're going to go out of business.
You know, it's against the law to dive commercially for abalone with a tank.
Oh, we know that, Mike. But we can search for the beds with a tank, can't we?
Well, what do you want from me?
We want you to teach us how to dive with a tank the right way. We asked around. You're the only man we want to teach us. We could only scrape up $300. That be enough?
There'd just be two of us, Mike. Me and Larry. Frank doesn't dive. He just handles the boat. Come on, what do you say?
Come on, say it's a deal, huh?
Come on, or our whole business goes bust.
What do you say, Mike?
All right, it's a deal.
Good.
Great.
On one condition.
What's that?
No more kid stuff like riding the anchor. And the first one that goofs off, well, school is over.
Whatever you say, Mike. You got that, Johnny?
Yeah, I got it. Whatever you say. What time school start?
Tomorrow morning, 8:30. Sharp.
We'll be right on time, teacher.
After briefing them thoroughly on the surface, I took 2 of the Brand brothers below. After the first dive, I could tell this was going to be a quick course. They were easy to teach. They were in good physical shape, strong swimmers, and experienced divers. All they needed were 2 things: the technical side of the unfamiliar scuba equipment and a rundown on basic safety rules. They were a pair of eager beavers, and I tried to impress upon them how one diver is responsible for the safety of his partner as well as himself. They learned fast, and they worked hard, almost too hard. And on every dive, I practically had to force them to surface after a long, rugged group of exercises. They were good, and they knew it.
Well, how we doing with this diving bit, Mike?
Another day like today, and I'm going to graduate you.
You mean we're all through for today?
Ah, you sure are. Yeah, you were down almost 5 hours. That's long enough for one day.
You know, we've been diving all our lives, Mike. You really think a couple of more hours would hurt us?
Oh, it's not going to do you any good, that's for sure. You've been down below 60 feet. Already exceeded your maximum diving time. Now, this time is cumulative. If you go in again, you'd just be taking a chance. Why take it?
Okay, Mike. Okay, you're the boss. Now, another question.
Yeah.
How far can you swim underwater? I mean, without surfacing.
Well, it depends. Any more?
That's all.
This scuba equipment wasn't designed for distance swimming.
Yeah, but in an emergency, you might have to.
Well, emergency, you just come to the top and just swim.
But what if the water's choppy? Then you'd have to swim beneath the surface, right?
Yeah, that's right. Wait a minute, I got a book around here. Here we are. That'll give you the word.
Thanks.
I'll get these tanks into town, get them filled up with air, huh? I'll see you in a couple of hours. Now, remember, you fellas, don't get your feet wet.
Okay, Pete. We'll be good.
I returned a couple of hours later. As soon as I saw their empty boat and their air bubbles, I knew that Larry and Johnny had broken their promise. They were risking their lives. They had been diving too long for one day, and they didn't know how to calculate their air supply.
Oh, Mike, you're back early.
How long have they been down there?
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't worry about it, though. They can take care of themselves.
Not after 5 hours, I can't.
Oh, wait a minute. They'll be up any minute.
Yeah, maybe.
Don't worry so much about it. They'll be all right.
Get out of my way. I said out of my way.
Now, look, Mike.
All right. Now tell me, exactly how long have they been down there?
30, maybe 45 minutes.
Means they haven't got much air left.
Their unauthorized dive was the second stupid trick that they'd pulled. But still, their lives were my responsibility as long as I was instructing them. The Brands were smart and quick, but completely without discipline. Someday, it'd get them into real trouble. I watched them doing a maneuver, one that I certainly had never taught them, getting into a wetsuit underwater. But I couldn't wait around too long to find out what it was all about. I had to get them out of the water. Time was getting short for them. I didn't know where they were going, but they didn't seem to be surfacing. I overtook them and tried to make them understand that they had to surface, but right now. Johnny grappled with me and tore my mask off. I retrieved it, put it on, and cleared it of water. " Then I realized that Larry was in trouble. He was tearing at his mask, gasping for air. I grabbed him and gave him my mouthpiece. The air from my tank was his last chance. And I brought Larry slowly but safely to the surface, exchanging the mouthpiece as we went.
You fellas deliberately disregarded everything that I told you. Well, I warned you. The school's over.
We were just working on a problem we read in your book.
Now, another 5 minutes down there and all your problems would have been over. What was the idea of changing your wetsuits down there? What was that all about?
Just practicing, that's all.
For what?
Oh, look, Mike, we're sorry, huh? And thanks for fishing me out of the drink, huh? We got what we came for. No hard feelings?
No hard feelings. Pay me to teach you, I taught you. Period. But I'll give you a little free advice. You keep playing games with the ocean, you're gonna lose.
The Brand brothers finally upped anchor and took off. Frankly, I was glad to get rid of them. People like that are not only dangerous to themselves, they're dangerous to others. Then I saw something on the deck of the pier, a wallet. It could only have belonged to Frank Brand. It must have fallen out of his pocket when I threw him. I looked at his identification card and his photograph. The name on it wasn't Brand. It was Bronson. They had lied to me about their name. I wondered what else they had lied about. After I discovered that the Bronson boys had given me a phony name, I went to Fisherman's Wharf to see what I could find out about them. That wetsuit change on the water had me puzzled, too. I learned enough to arouse a lot of curiosity. From one fisherman, I discovered that the Bronsons had not been abalone divers for years. Another lie. From another, I found out that they had a fourth brother, Mark, but no one knew much about him or where he was. I wasn't able to find their boat on the wharf, and I wasn't able to find out one good word about them either. Finally, I spotted the Bronson boat. It was laying to off a deserted pier just outside Oakland. There didn't seem to be anyone aboard. I decided to go out and get a closer look. I decided to board her and look around. Then I heard an outboard. It was the Bronsons coming back to the boat. I got out of sight fast.
Let's get going. We don't have much time.
Right.
I grabbed a dangling bow line and held on. There was nothing I could do but wait to see what they were up to. The motor started. I decided to hitch a ride and stick with them. It was risky, but I knew they were up to no good. I felt responsible for them in a way. I had taught them to dive. It was hard to hold on. If I slipped, I'd be sucked into the propeller blades. But after the boat picked up speed, I had no choice. I had to stick with it. The pressure was tremendous. I was afraid that at any minute the forward speed would rip off my face mask. And then there were those blades back aft, snapping at my heels. Suddenly, the boat slowed down. Two men in diving gear, obviously Larry and Johnny, hit the water right in front of me. That was strange enough. But even stranger was the fact that they were carrying an extra diving outfit with them. I surfaced to see what it was all about. Now I knew what the Bronsons were up to. In teaching them to skin dive, I had prepared them for the most daring escape plot in the history of the Rock. Now it was up to me to stop it. At the moment, the odds weren't so good. 2 against 1. And I had a hunch that they were going to get worse. They stopped in the rocks and sent up a marker buoy. As soon as I saw the convict, I knew that he was the 4th Bronson brother, Mark. The rehearsal of the wetsuit change was now paying off. The Bronsons had planned the escape brilliantly. They knew that Mark couldn't last in the bitterly cold water of the bay unless he were protected by a wetsuit. I couldn't risk trying to take all 3 of them at once. I released a marker flare, hoping that it would attract the attention of the authorities on the island, and I took after them. All I could do for now was to keep right on their tails. They were swimming directly away from the island, obviously heading for a rendezvous with a boat far enough away so they wouldn't be detected. Their progress was slow, but so was mine. The tides of the bay are vicious and strong, so powerful that they prevented any escape from the island. But no one had ever tried it before underwater. Suddenly, they stopped. Larry whirled around and noticed me and waved to his brothers to go on. He had decided to fight a rear guard action by himself. He came at me with his knife. tough, clever, and slippery. Finally, I was able to spin behind him and cut his air hose. That sent him to the surface. I looked around for his brothers. They were by now too far away for me to catch up to them. The flare had done its job. The authorities had spotted it and sent a patrol boat out to investigate. I had one Bronson in the bag, but there were two more to go.
Little more to starboard! Little more! That's right. Now keep on that heading. Have the Coast Guard pick up their boat.
Although I had reduced the odds, it was still 2-1 against me when I found Johnny and his convict brother. But I had something working for me. The cold water and the strong tides had sapped their strength. They'd been under for a long time. The flare had worked for me on the surface. I figured out a way for it to work for me underwater. Then while they were stunned, I pulled the mask off Mark, closed his air valve, and shoved him at his brother. Then I grabbed Johnny's knife hand and applied pressure till he dropped it. I got a stranglehold on him and brought him up.
Even though we didn't make it, it's a pretty good scheme. Don't you think so, Nelson?
No, not too good. Another 100 yards and that tide would have taken you clean through the Golden Gate. But you wouldn't have known a thing about it. That's fine, thanks.
We'll have the doctor take a look at this when we get back to the island.
If it's all the same with you, I'd feel a lot better if you dropped me off at Fisherman's Wharf. I've seen enough of Alcatraz. Hello there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. You know, 3/5 of the world is covered by the sea. And how little most of us know about that underwater world. Go below with us again next week, huh? For another thrilling adventure in Sea Hunt.